One. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Lindsay, and I'm really happy today to be introducing you to the author of this blog, or my co-author on this blog, Leone, who I met when I was doing some work and research at a service that she is a teacher at over in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. So thanks for coming on and having a chat, Leone.
You're welcome. It's nice
Yeah,
to
did you
chat.
want to just give people a little bit of background about what took you to Vietnam and what is your role as a teacher there?
So I relocated to Vietnam almost 2 years ago, and previously I was in the Middle East, and I decided it was time for a change. Um, and I wanted to be closer to my family, and some of my family members are here, also based in Vietnam. So that was something that drew me closer here,
Yeah, of
and
course, of course.
yeah.
So in terms of this amazing project that everyone's going to read about in the blog, it would be really helpful, I think, if you can share a little bit of what led you initially to the idea to go down this pathway of, the tale of Ho Chi Minh City.
Force behind our project was really, the environment, because living in Ho Chi Minh City allowed us to include local landmarks like the Saigon Bridge or Landmark 81, and it gave us like unique insights into cultural and contextual um, learning for the kids. And it just created a deeper understanding, I think, between what we were building and where we were living. And then the environment, when I thought about their interest was driving the project, but as well as their environment influenced. And then when I thought about, you know, um, what was important to me, or what really stood out for me during this project, was also the environment, but like our classroom environment specifically, because when I think about things that we introduced or the provocations we created to challenge their critical thinking skills, like our when we took the boxes outside of the classroom and we measure them, or we use tools like the glue gun, or we introduce books on architecture to really kind of inspire that thinking. And that was also a driving force, what really guided the learning. So it was our huge outside environment, such as the city that we live in and we deal with every day, and then like our classroom environment and what we did together as a group, and how we kind of ran with it and learned with it together. So yeah, for me, yeah, the two main things that I really got from this project was our environmental influence, as well as the collaboration between the children, and as well as how they worked together, because they really did. It wasn't always peaceful.
No, of course,
Hard.
dynamic, crazy, yeah.
It's hard to do things together as a group, especially a group of 4-year-olds who's still kind of learning how to navigate like all these social situations. But they did really, and as the year progressed as well, I did really see how that really bonded them and how they could learn from each other as well as with each other. So that was something that also really stood out to for me. And yeah, there was challenges, of course, but we overcame them. And then yeah, we created this really, really interesting project, but it also bonded us as like a little classroom community.
And I
Yeah.
get a sense that it sort of let you, as a teacher, it sort of gave you those little hook points that you could reconnect the children with their questions and inquiry, but utilize the arts, for example, as a way of having
Yeah.
another conversation and sort of keeping the life of that project alive. Seems, because I met you, back in 2023, and this
Yeah.
is now the middle of 2024, and you've really kept that project going ever since I was visiting with you in Ho Chi Minh City, which is just so exciting because a lot of people struggle with keeping projects going.
Yeah.
Was that your experience? How did you sort of keep reigniting things?
Yeah. For sure. Sometimes we were thinking, where do we go from here? Because sometimes things would be repetitive, or repeated. So, but what we really, how we went through it is if we got stuck on one area of the project, um, we either introduced new material,
Mhm.
or what we did is we listened to the children when they were playing. And when they were playing, they used our boxes quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that was also another avenue of how we learned, oh, okay, they're talking about roads now, they're talking about the
Yeah, yeah.
infrastructure,
How
things
can we
that they
make
haven't
those
done
links?
before.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And initially, when we started our project, it was about building and construction. But as the children played, you can build and you can construct and you can make so many steps. But eventually, they might have lost interest in it. But then they used it in play and they said, oh,
Mm,
okay, but now we can use steps, but there are no roads that leads to the other buildings, or we don't have any furniture in here. So that
mm,
also
mm.
was guiding us to see, oh, okay, we can take this a step further, or we can explore this avenue. So
Yeah, I love
that,
that because
yeah,
it brings in that notion of solving problems together and positions
yeah,
the children as agentic learners who have
yeah.
ideas and propositions that you as the teachers sort of picked up and ran with in such a powerful way. What did it mean for your teaching team? Tell me a bit about that.
I think for my team specifically, um, it helped us understood the children a little bit better.
Mm,
And as well as how we could work together as a team to influence
yeah.
their exploration,
Mm, mm.
specifically. I mean, I had a lot of support from Miss Cook and Miss Lynn. Miss Lynn is incredibly creative.
Yeah.
Miss Cook is incredibly patient. They're
Building on
both
the
very creative.
skills. Yeah, building on the skills
Yeah,
of your colleagues and being really collegial in the process. I love that because it's sort of a
for
teaching opportunity amongst yourselves as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then sometimes that was something that I think also bonded us as a team, because just like the children, sometimes if they got stuck in the project thinking, oh, okay, or repeating things, between me and my colleagues, maybe if we were sitting down and making a brain map and talking about what we've been hearing or what we've been observing, or thinking, how could we inspire this? We could bounce ideas off each other. And
Oh, perfect.
um, yeah, and that was also super useful because, it takes a village. So
Well,
it was
exactly. It takes a
it was
village to make a
inspiring.
Ho Chi
Yeah.
Minh City story. Yeah. Um, and can I ask you a little bit? I know back when I was there delivering some professional learning and chatting to you all, we were sort of talking about the affordances of floor books and how they can help connect your observations of children's play to your planning to involving them in the documentation as well. How did
Yeah.
that play out? I know that in your documentation you've put an image from your floor book. How active was the floor book in the process? How did it trigger things or support your thinking?
Our floor book was very useful in the project
Mm,
because the children became very involved very early on, with the floor book, because they realized this is the classroom special book. This is where we write down our ideas, or we look back at our pictures. And a lot of what we were doing in the week, we were displaying in the floor book. And um, we would talk about that. And sometimes I would take the floor book out and use it in circle time and
yeah.
say, oh,
A
remember when we
prompt.
did,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, remember when we did this? And or we were building this bridge, and we would have a conversation with the children, about that, and the pictures in there. And that also kind of guided us, because we could
Mm,
reflect
mm.
back on it, but then we would think, oh, but you know um the bridge is amazing, and but you know, what else do you think we could build, or what other ideas could you have that you could add onto the bridge or anything like that? So the floor book was yeah, definitely a useful tool for us to reflect, but also to move forward to within our project. And then of course the children loved it. They loved doing their own drawings, because initially in the beginning of our project, it was mostly drawings. It was building, and then we moved on to drawings. So it was really in the floor book where they could really also express their own ideas, and another, you know, opportunity just for us to really sit down and listen to what they were saying, and you know, what they were thinking.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's sort of really, I mean, that's why I introduced them to you, just that idea of it's not just the teacher doing all of the thinking, it's got to be a community of thinkers, and valuing children's planning and their voices and their ideas. And I'm hoping that, you know, as we anticipated, it became a space for professional learning for you and your colleagues as well, to think through your practice.
Yeah, for sure. You know, in every corner we had a little corner of the page, there's where to next, or like a bit of a reflection to think about what worked, what didn't work. You know, maybe we can do things differently. And that was also a useful, you know, element into planning, because sometimes planning can be difficult if, you know, ideas are all over the place, and you know,
exactly. There's so many ideas that you can't carry them all out. So I think
exactly, and lots is going on in the classroom. So just having that to look back on, or you know, to think of, really helped.
Nice, nice. With the families, I mean, obviously they were looking at the floor book too. And I think as I read your documentation, it really struck me that this is an opportunity also to teach families about how children learn and the complex ideas that they engage in. And also, as a side note, you know, the notion that recycling materials isn't necessarily common practice in Vietnam yet. So how did you see that opportunity to sort of involve the families in the project, and what it could mean for them too?
Well, when we decided we are going to build, we actually had a group discussion, and I asked my class, I said, how do you think we could create these buildings? How do you think we can create city? And one of the little girls said, oh, we can use boxes. And I said, that's amazing. That's such a good idea. I like that. But I don't think we have a lot of boxes here, and I don't really know where we could find them. And then it was another little boy who said, oh, we can ask our moms and dads. And then it kind of got into a conversation. You know, some of the households were saying, oh, we collect a lot of boxes, or we've got lots of boxes. And so by having the discussion, we decided, you know, as a class and with the children, that we're gonna, you know, include the parents and include the families, and then we're gonna ask them to bring their boxes, and then, you know, their recycled.
And then you're inundated.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, it was like a group effort, because we talked about it, and then the children gave the idea of like inviting their parents and families as to contribute to it. And then it worked perfectly. And then of course that also led to, you know, discussions about recycling, and you know, why do you keep the boxes, or you know, what's the purpose of it? So yeah, it all stemmed from like our group discussions that we had over our project.
Yeah, it sounds like the parents really did support the process, and hopefully learned a lot about their children's learning as well.
Yeah, they were great. They were really supportive. And yeah, we had boxes every single day.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Saigon Kids Recycling Centre.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I guess that did strike me as well, as I was reading your beautiful documentation and how aesthetically you presented even the boxes and the decoration of them, the drawing, your choice for risky play with the glue gun. I was so excited to see, because I'm a real advocate for using real tools and real materials.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, that excited me to see you using everyday arts materials. So there wasn't a lot of money spent to
Yeah.
achieve this really outstanding result. Do you want to run through some of the arts processes you utilized?
So in when we first started our project as well, we experimented with cutting first, and then we found it really. The children found it very difficult to cut boxes with
Mm,
scissors.
mm,
And then
mm.
we discovered those box knife cutters that
Yep,
are
yeah.
so blunt that they can easily go through the boxes. And we borrowed them from our upstairs class. And then we went with that. And then, as this was the beginning of the year, so we just kind of started to get together as a class. They're still a little bit young, they're still trying to figure out their fine motor
Yeah,
skills.
yeah.
And then, as the year progressed, they started being able to use their hands a lot more efficiently, as
I
well
love
as like
that. Yeah,
with their ideas.
yeah, and I love the notion that purposeful problem solving, arts related activities and experiences, they're actually fostering all of those developmental skills in authentic ways rather than
Yeah.
sort of, okay, cut along this line now. It's very
Yeah.
much like cut along here with the box cutter because that's going to solve the problem. And because it's based on something the child is motivated to do, as
Mhm.
all play-based learning, it's
Yeah.
very motivating, it's
Yeah. And
authentic. Mm.
for sure. And then there's a lot of, determination and perseverance, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah, all
easy,
those dispositions. Yeah, yeah.
for sure, it's easy to get frustrated when you can't do something,
Mm, mm.
especially at that age. So, and then, we use the box cutters, we use the glue, we use all kind of like tapes. And then the glue gun we introduced because that some of the children were saying, Miss Leone, it's taking so long
Yeah, yeah.
with
And
the
then
white
the glue
glue.
didn't work and yeah.
Yeah, it's taking too long. Like, and they had their ideas were almost it, they were running away with their ideas.
Mm,
You know, it was too fast for them, so they wanted to have something a little bit more efficient, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I
Is that
think
the
that's
right
a
way to
good
say
way
it?
of putting it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so then we introduced the glue gun with like we talked about it in circle time as well. And but they were they surprised me, honestly,
Yeah, yeah.
because
I
at
always
first,
do, I think, children. They're good.
yeah, no. And at first I was thinking, oh, okay, we've got a lot of fun characters in the class, and very
Mhm.
energetic, very chaotic. So sometimes, you're thinking, oh, this is a good idea. But then when I sat down with them and we really got into it, then
Mm.
um, they ran with it and they loved it, and it
Oh,
empowered
yeah.
them. And they were, every day after that, it was like, can we use the glue
Mm.
gun? And
Well,
they
because it
used,
is empowering, right? It's
yeah,
empowering when an adult trusts you. It's
yeah,
empowering when the tool actually does what you jolly well want it to do
yeah.
instead of persisting with, unsticky sticky tape or masking tape
Mm.
that falls off and makes your construction floppy or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
The other thing
exactly.
I wanted to ask, and I think it's one of the last things I want to ask, unless there's more you want to say, you use the work of artists also to inspire some processes, some introduction to strategies, materials. Could you chat
Yeah.
about that a little bit?
So we introduced the artists when we got stuck
Mm,
in our construction, yeah, process, because I noticed some of the children were they didn't know where to go, or they didn't know what to build further, or they were asking, oh, how do we do this, or how do
mm,
we construct this together? And I mean, I can show them, but it's just me showing them.
right,
They need
right.
to be inspired, yeah,
Which
they
is
need to look at
disempowering,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, different artwork or get different ideas, because if I show them, it's just my idea, really.
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
so when we got stuck, we introduced, the famous couple, the box artists,
Yeah, the Aquilazans.
Yes, we
Yeah.
introduced them. And then when we printed out the pictures and we showed it to the children, they could really relate to
Mm.
the work that they were doing and the work that they were seeing. And they have such good observational skills. So they could really like see the smallest of details of things that I didn't even see in the picture. And they'd say, oh, there's a ladder here going up that's connecting the roof to the
Mm.
chimney and all
All that
these things that
mathematical language too, right?
yeah, so then that really kind of like reignited
Mm.
was, sparked the interest again
Yeah,
to really
nice.
run with the project. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sort of telling the story and the background and some of the processes involved in the project. I think the people listening to this video and reading your documentation will be really inspired to
Thank
see that,
you.
yeah, that as a teacher, you can intentionally sort of employ a project approach to pull the whole curriculum together in line with children's interests and their
Mm.
development and use it as a sort of um, now I'm stuck for the word, but use it as sort of a connecting thread across the year
Mm.
to just
Yeah.
keep picking up that thread of interest and taking it to the next step just through little responsive planning or planning that is responsive to children's discussions and ideas and their play. And I noticed you use children's literature to do that as well. Um,
Yeah.
as somebody who had come across to talk to your whole team about that idea of project-based inquiry processes and how it can really spark joy in the classroom. I think your story in this blog and the way you've expressed it in our chat today just well, it makes me very excited to see how those conversations landed sort of across the year. So I want to thank you for the privilege of the fact that you ran so enthusiastically with some of the ideas we shared last year. And yeah, I hope we have lots more
Thank you.
opportunities to collaborate. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.